Big. All
It's
right.
your birthday?
Yes, sir.
No kidding. Happy birthday. I did it for you, bud.
I know. Well, I'm happy for it. Denny Hamlin is our Coors Light pole winner for the 54th annual Coca-Cola 600. And he drives the number 11 FedEx Office Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. And this is his 14th career pole, his second pole in 2013. I believe you had one at Auto Club. Your first
How'd
pole.
that turn out?
Yeah, it was a great race. This is his first pole at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But Denny, you know, this has to be just a terrific feeling for you to get over here and sit on the pole for this race, and just a few weeks back in the race car. So congratulations, first of all, and you know, this has got to be a big deal for you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's you know, I sit out there that, you know, normally I wouldn't commit myself to running a lap like that. I feel it's too dangerous, and I'd rather just take my fifth or sixth qualifying effort and kind of move on. But we have a mission ahead, and that's to try to make the chase. And the best way to do that is to win races. And to win races, you got to have every advantage that you can. One of them being the number one pit stall. And so I really just, you know, committed to running the best lap that I could, pushing every envelope that I normally don't push to err on the safe side. So, you know, obviously it pays off with a big reward. So this is a good step to the weekend, and obviously, hopefully a good sign of things to come for the 600 on Sunday.
And how's the back feel? Is it feeling
good?
Feeling good?
Yeah,
Good.
everything's you know, been good, and just doing my routine each and every week, and obviously, you know, I know the progress that I made right before I got in the car in that 2-week span of scans. I'm guessing now 3 weeks later I'm that much better, so it's everything should be good.
And Coach Gibbs is back there. Coach, congratulations. You got first and third fastest qualifiers for the Coca-Cola 600. And congratulations on that accomplishment. We'll take questions now. I think Reed and Lee had one, and then we'll get to a few others. Go ahead.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Denny, you were saying out there on the grid that you felt like a victory. Is this sort of the validation that you were looking for to say, I'm back?
Well, I think winning would do that. I think that ultimately, you know, getting the big trophy on Sunday is the validation that you're truly back. And you know, for me, it's going to take wins and a lot of really good consistency. You know, throughout these summer months to put ourselves in position to have a chance at a championship. That's what we're here for. And so, you know, even these small victories, though, give me that confidence that I'm still capable and I'm still able to do the job at 100% like I should be. So any kind of confidence booster for me, it's always a plus on Sunday.
Go ahead, Lee.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Still, are you surprised that you're in here after the blistering lap cart put up? And when is your next scan, or do you have a next scan? And what's your treatment from here on out going to look like?
You know, I didn't expect it. Honestly, I knew I had to try and do everything I could, but you know, the way our car drove, I didn't think it was that fast when I was actually making the lap. So, you know, I just, you know, sat in turn one with 10 cars to go, and just kind of closed my eyes and listened to each car go by and listened to what they were doing with their throttle, and then look at the board and see where they ended up. And I took all that information and kind of put together what I thought was going to take to run the fastest lap. So we put it all together, and so it's hard work, pays off, and all that's good. So as far as my treatment, it's you know, we don't have any scans scheduled in the next few weeks, probably a few months out. I would say we'll check it again, but just changing up my workouts, doing different things, and continually to work on my twisting ability and things like that. So I think that really I'm not limited in any way in any kind of activity from here on out.
Let's go over that time again. A track record of 27.604 seconds, 195.624 miles per hour. Let's go to Bob Pockris.
Bob Pockris, Sporting News. How was your back like on the Sunday and Monday after Darlington? And are you dreading Monday after 600 miles Sunday night?
I really, if you had to choose what race to come back on, the first race, I would say this race, even though it's 600 miles over the 500 at Darlington, I just feel like Darlington is way tougher physically. It's always a really hot race because the air doesn't escape and everyone's running right against the wall, so you're kind of you usually beat the right side in, so you're taking in carbon monoxide for most of the race, and so it's just a tough race physically and mentally for that long at that track. Here, you've got some straightaway to kind of breathe for a second, gather your thoughts. We didn't have a whole lot of cautions in Darlington, so that part of it was tough, but I think now my muscle memory is gotten back to where it was before, so I think I will be less sore this time around than I was for Darlington. It took about 2 days after Darlington before I felt good again, so I anticipate everything should be fine on Monday here.
Let's go over here to Jeff Gluck, and then we'll go to Allen.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. Denny, just something you said.
Wow. That's my teammate.
I don't even know if I can recover after that. You said that you were kind of down and you closed your eyes, listened to what they were doing with the throttle as they went by. What are you listening for? Are you listening for how long they stay in it, or I mean, what are you looking for?
Yeah, all that. That is staying in it or out of it. There was a lot of different driving styles that I listened to, and you try to block out whether it's a good car or a bad car. So that's why I kind of closed my eyes just to not pass judgment on what kind of. I just look at the board and see where that car ended up in particular after it's all over. So really, you learn a lot. You being up there, and I learned a lot for 4 or 5 weeks standing on top of our pit box watching 500-mile races. So all that correlated to how we ran today. I said a long time ago I thought that I was going to be better coming back from this than I was if it would have never happened. So I think I'm a better driver now than I was before. So just that information, as long as you use it and apply it the way you should, you're going to be a better driver.
Let's go to Allen, and then we'll come over here to George.
Denny Hamlin, NASCAR.com. Little off topic. You're a big Bobcats fan. Michael Jordan, friend, business partner. What do you think of the Charlotte Hornets?
Hopefully they play like the Hornets, the old Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah.
So we obviously I would like to see them get a little redemption with the #1 pick, but it is what it is, and I think it's as much about scouting talent and getting good second and third round guys. It is that #1 overall pick. So it's good. I think it's whatever gets the Charlotte people excited about their team. I'm up for it. No matter what, Charlotte Lakers, whatever will get people in the seats and get them enthusiastic about their team will be good.
George?
Yeah, Denny, up front here, George Diaz with the Orlando Sentinel. You've kind of acknowledged, obviously, you're in this frantic catch-up mode. Is that something you can get away with, mentally? Does that something that kind of weighs on you every day, even though, you kind of can't get away from it? Or how are you dealing with that?
Well, I think there's some pressures, but a lot of it is pressure-free because, if we don't make it, then we have an excuse. We missed a handful of races, and but if we do, it's all there's all upside and really no downside to what we have in front of us. We have a great opportunity to make a great story at the end of the year if we can make it and then be competitive in the chase. And if we don't, we just had a hill we just couldn't climb, and we're going to be tougher because of it. Obviously, I would like to remain in the category with Jimmy as the only two drivers to make it every year that they've tried, and I'd like to keep that intact, and so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that's the case.
Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, Denny Al Pierce from Auto Week. When you saw the number that Kurt Busch had posted, did you think to yourself, can't be done, or it'll take an extraordinary lap, or just what was your thinking when you saw what you had to do?
A lot of what I thought about it would kind of weighed on what he was going to say in his interview, whether he said that he had got everything and that was all it was capable of, or if when he said that he left a little bit out in 3 and 4, that was where I beat him. You look at the tracker, I beat him through 3 and 4, and so I knew that I was capable of running a little bit faster. If he's like he said, he made a mistake, so the window was open for me. I just had to execute. So, I didn't think it was possible before. I thought about a 70 was, but when he ran the 66, then I wanted to hear, what did he think about it? Was it everything he had, or did he make a mistake? And he said he made a mistake, and I capitalized.
As you went around, did you think you were close?
By my tack, I thought that I was running about 300. But as far as the feel, my car was so planted to the racetrack that it really wasn't that hard to drive. It really, as long as I committed to the throttle like I envisioned, then everything was going to work out fine.
Go ahead, Mike.
MikeEmbrySpeed.com. Speaking of the time that you were out, did you get paid overtime for sitting beside Chris Myers for 12 hours at Talladega?
I should have. They gave me a nice set of earmuffs for whatever reason to either block him out or in a nice jacket. So, yeah, I didn't bargain for 7 hours in the hotel or whatever it was, but it was fun. I like doing the TV stuff, and a lot of people, think I'm very kind of monotone and don't have a whole lot of personality and everything. But it's fun to kind of get out there and show people what kind of person you are, and give some current driver insight. And so that's something that Mike Waltrip does, because he still races, but really, I just came off the racetrack and can give some insight on what's going on out there. So I love doing that stuff. I'd really like to do a little bit more of it.
Kurt said that you ran the perfect lap. Could you have gone faster?
Yes, but it's too late now. Nobody can do it.
Dustin, raise your hand.
Dustin Long, Motor Racing Network. You talked about pushing the envelope on the lap and doing things you wouldn't normally do. Can you kind of give me a sense, or since I'm not in the car, don't understand all those things, what was so different? What was the feel, and what did you have to do to convince yourself to go to a level that you would not normally go to?
Well, I would say as a driver, I'm typically the guy that always backs off a tenth in qualifying to not lose 3/10. So I choose to keep the car under me more, to not miss my marks and then make a mistake and end up 25th. I'd rather just qualify 6th to 8th to 10th every single week versus a pole, a 30th, a 5th, a 30th, because you continue to push it every time you qualify. You make more mistakes. When you make mistakes, you end up with a 30th pit stall, which is no good, and it really hurts your chances. So I typically know what my car is capable of grip-wise, and I run it to that level of grip, and which is a lot of the reason I run good on the big tire wear tracks, is because I keep the car under me, and I'm well in control of my car at all times. I'm not pushing it right to the edge. But to run a qualifying lap here capable of getting the pole, you've got to get everything you can everywhere. And the risk of that is if you miss by just a little bit running that speed, you could end up 30th easily, and then you go from making your job on Sunday easy because you now have the number one pit stall to you just put yourself in a hole, not only with track position, but you put your pit crew in a bad spot for the rest of the weekend too. So it's hard to get wins qualifying that far back. I have to capitalize on the advantages that were given to me today, and that was one was pulling the 40th pill for qualifying. So that's an advantage. You've got to capitalize on it. If you have a shot at the pole, this is one of those chances you can take. You know, had I gone out 8th, I basically know I'm not going to get the pole, so then I'll back off the 10th to make sure I don't make the big mistake. So that's kind of my strategy through qualifying, and it's been that way for many, many years.
Other questions for Denny? Lee?
Talking about, when you were talking about listening to the throttle response compared to something like Dartfish, I mean, how do you compare the two? I mean, would listening to it be more like a seat of your pants kind of deal? Because with, having Dartfish and those types of tools to rely on, I mean, you just kind of opened up a whole new element to the equation.
Well, we don't get it till after qualifying, so the Dartfish stuff, wouldn't help me right then. And really, as a driver, you learn more from listening and seeing than you do looking at any video that you can possibly look at. Simply because, as a driver, I know what's going on. I mean, I can hear the difference between a guy who jumps out of the throttle and a guy that rolls out. Just by the tone of the engine, I can tell those differences. So it's just another tool that we have, being race car drivers, knowing what's going on inside the car that we use to our advantage. Yeah, I mean, it's a constant competition. I said this a long time ago when Kyle came to Joe Gibbs Racing in 2008. He took my game to another level. He took me from being a 1 to 2 win guy a season to 5, 6. And it's a lot of it is this racetrack. I said during practice today, Kyle Busch is why I've performed so well here over these last 2 to 3 years. Not that he's spending all this time with me, but I'm studying things that he does as a race car driver because he's good here. So if the tools are out there for me to use, I have to be smart enough to use them and use them to my advantage. So I do that, and then Matt is just he's another Kyle Busch on our race team, and I don't want to be the last guy. And we constantly text all the time about who's the last guy within our team, and that's good competition. And anytime that we're going to continue to push each other to not be the last guy, eventually we're just going to be 1, 2, 3, and the last place guy isn't going to be too bad. So we constantly get I know Matt studies my data at a lot of racetracks. He studies Kyle at a lot of racetracks, and I do the same with them. I'm sure Kyle does the same thing. So we're a team that's continually pushing each other to be better, and this is the strongest team we've had maybe ever. I mean, we were really strong when Tony was around, when me, Kyle, and Tony were there, but Matt he's taken us really to another level.